everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2020 Hyundai Veloster N, and this one does have a manual transmission. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to Stockton 12 Honda here in Utah for giving me some time with this Veloster. Check out their inventory in the link below, where obviously you can find a bunch of new Hondas, but they also get cool trade-ins like this Veloster N, so check them out. Let's get into the video. Now, under the hood of the Veloster N, we have a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed manual transmission, and that is the only transmission you get for the 2020 model year. Now, the standard output is 250 horsepower and then 260 pound-feet of torque, but if you get the performance package, it has 275 horsepower. Now, I'm pretty sure that this one does have the performance package because it also adds these 19-inch wheels and the louder exhaust, so I'm pretty sure that this one has that package. Now let's go over the front end of the Veloster N. First and foremost, I love the spec on this one, how it's black, and then you have the red accenting from the N package. I think it just looks really good. But coming down below, we do have these LED accent lights, which I think look pretty neat, how you have just all the little dots there at the front. And then we actually do get some fake venting there on the side, but it looks cool aesthetically. And then again, you've got the red accenting here. You've got the massive front grille. And when I say massive, I mean for a car this size, it's pretty large. And yeah, that's everything for the front end. It's very aggressive, and I think it's really good looking too. Now, coming on the side here, we've got two 35mm tires wrapped around 19-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this has the performance package because the 19-inch wheels that this has are part of that performance package. I love you can see the red accenting there on the front splitter, and then the red brake caliper that has N on it. And this one even has red mud flaps, which match everything. Again, pretty cool touch. And then you've got that red accenting there on the side as well. And other than that, here is your full side view. Now let's pop into the rear hatch of the Veloster quickly. So first off, you guys can see the opening here is a little bit on the smaller size compared to some of the competitors in this segment, but you do get this cargo cover here in the back, and it does go down pretty far. So I mean, overall it's pretty decent from a storage space perspective. Now let's finish things off with the rear. So you've got the spoiler there at the top, which I think looks really good. And then notice that we've got the cool taillights here, which kind of look Lamborghini-esque. And then we've got the N logo and massive, massive exhaust tips out the back. And then you've got the rear diffuser on top of that, and that's everything for the rear. Now let's go over the door panel here in the back quickly. You actually do get some padding where you're gonna rest your arm. And then here are the seats in the back. So you've got cloth seats here. I actually really like the stitching design here on the top portion and then here on the bottom portion of the seat as well. And then we've got the blue seat belts that match that theme. You actually do get some cup holders here in the back. And other than that, well, that's everything for the back. So see ya. Now here's the extremely long front driver door, and again, you've got the padding where you're gonna rest your arm here. You've got all of your window controls and the mirror adjustments on top of that. And then here are the seats at the front. Since you've got that cool stitching there, really nice bolsters here on the seat. Again, the blue seat belt. The seats are manually adjustable. You've got the N logo. And then here's the 3-pedal layout just down below. And there's one more look before we pop in. Here's the steering wheel in the Veloster N. So you've got soft leather at the top and at the bottom with the N logo, and then perforated leather here on the side. We're actually going to grab it. And then notice you've got our cruise control and your pages button over here. This is for the N or the custom mode, and then you've got your other drive modes over there. Voice command, phone controls on the other side. You've got your light stock, and then your windshield wiper stock, and that's all for the steering wheel. Now here's the center gauge cluster. First off, there's a few different menus you can scroll through there in the center to give you different bits of information. Actually pretty decent fuel economy for being a little rally car. And then again, you've got your N mode, and then you've got your custom mode that you can go into, and then also you've got your normal, sport, and then eco modes that you can also go into. Obviously, we're gonna have fun today. We'll go into the N mode because, well, I mean, it's the N, so you gotta drive it in the N mode. Here's the center infotainment system. First off, if we pop it into reverse, notice you've got the backup camera that'll pop up. The trajectory lines do turn with the steering wheel, and well, that's all for the camera part of it. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time on it's pretty good. It's not as good as like the brand new Hyundais, but I mean, it's pretty decent from a response time perspective. And notice that we do have the N mode that you can press, and then notice it gives you all that information on it, like the turbo, torque, power, all that kind of stuff. I think that's a pretty cool little screen that they give you. Just down below, we've got our analog controls for the radio, and then you've got your analog climate control, just is a single zone climate, and then a bunch of areas where you can charge devices. Stability control button, and then here's the shifter for that 6-speed manual. If you want to go into reverse, you pull up and then go over for reverse. And then I'll talk more about the shifter itself when we get into the driving portion of today's video. We've got our e-brake right here. We've got the center console. And then we do have the glove box, which has a bunch of stuff. And then pretty interesting material there on the dash. And then finishing things up here at the very top, we have a full black headliner with the sunglass holder, no sunroof or anything like that. And well, that's all for the top. If you want the most up-to-date pricing on this Veloster N, then check out Stockton 12 Honda's inventory in the link below so you can see, again, the most up-to-date price on their website. But let's take her out and see how she drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off here in the Veloster N. So first off, visibility over the hood's actually really good. It slopes right down. There's your visibility through both of the mirrors. It's cool to see the wing there in the kind of background. And then here's the rest of visibility throughout the rear. And, well, let's set off. We are setting off here in the Veloster N. And right now I'm kind of in the more normal driving mode. And so far, I actually really like how this drives from like a daily driver perspective. The shifts are really smooth and crisp. It's easy to get into each gear, and it's actually a relatively comfortable vehicle to drive, considering what this is, right? It's supposed to be kind of like a track-focused rally type car. Rev match downshifting, the engine isn't the most blippable, but I'm pretty sure this has the rev match function when you go into the N mode, if I remember correctly from the last time I reviewed one of these. But the upshifts are very crisp. We're gonna pop to the N mode now because that's what it's all about. Yep, it does have the auto blip when you go into the N mode, so it does it for you. And it's something I've said in past videos, these 2-liter 4-cylinders, just in general, if it's an inline 4, they aren't the most blippable. And so when they do have that auto blip function, it definitely makes the car a lot more drivable, especially with how the pedals are placed as well, because the pedals are kind of a little bit awkward. It's kind of hard to do heel toe just with how these pedals are actually placed with the Veloster N. But we'll get a partial acceleration here. Makes crackles and pops on upshifts just like the Focus RS. Sounds really good. Downshifts are perfect, again, because of that rev match function. I just have to like force myself to try not to heel toe, considering that it has the auto blip function. But we'll get our full blown acceleration now. So you do feel a little bit of torque steer, but it's not nearly as bad as what I expected it to be. It's actually pretty manageable. Yeah, that rev match is perfect. Sounds really good with the crackles and with the pops on the upshifts when you're under hard acceleration. Definitely makes it a little bit more exciting to drive because of the sound that you get. So it's got the 19-inch wheels. It has the active exhaust. This has to be the performance pack. Okay, I'm just gonna say at this point, this is the performance pack Veloster. It's got all the stuff that is in the performance pack. So yes, we're just gonna say this is the performance pack. But yeah, definitely like how this car drives. I was a little bit scared that this was going to be a little bit too front-wheel drive because, again, it is front-wheel drive, but obviously you don't want tons of torque steer, which is tugging on the steering wheel being annoying. But really, they've done a pretty good job with minimizing the torque steer here with the Veloster N. And we're actually going to get up here, which is kind of like a turning section, so we can see the handling. Steering's very heavy, actually. Yeah, really good turn-in as well. Not nearly as flat as like a Honda Civic Type R or Ford Focus RS, but I mean, it still does a really good job. It's definitely not as bad as like the STI. The STI has quite a bit of body roll. This is kind of like in between an STI and the Focus RS and Civic Type R. Definitely really rough in this N mode, I will say that. Like, it feels very, very rough in the N mode compared to the other driving modes. It's I wouldn't say it's undrivable, but it's definitely uncomfortable. I'm gonna pop it over into the sport mode instead and see how that feels. Probably feel a little bit different, a little bit better. But let's get into setting things up with this Veloster N. So first off, from an exterior aesthetics perspective, I think it's a good looking car. Definitely understated, but I mean, that's most hot hatches. They're definitely not like crazy out there, except for the Civic Type R is absolutely crazy with the styling. Interior wise, it's okay. Again, Civic Type R and Subaru WRX STI definitely have nicer interiors than this. I do love the shifter on this though. The shifter feels very nice and crisp. No auto rev match in the sport mode, so that's good to know. It's just the N mode that does that. And then driving, it's actually pretty fun to drive. Is it super differentiated? I wouldn't necessarily say so, but it definitely has its kind of own driving style, and like I said, it's definitely fun to drive. So if you want something that's a little bit more unique, because there's not a lot of these Veloster N's out there, and it's a 3-door, which is also kind of weird, then I would check one of these out. I feel like it drives pretty good, but I would say that I definitely do kind of prefer the driving of this, again, the Civic Type R and the Focus RS. And by the way, Stockton 12 Honda does have a black Civic Type R coming in, so if you're interested, reach out to them because they've got one that's not pre-sold already. That's gonna sum things up for our video on this 2020 Hyundai Veloster N. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to Stockton 12 Honda here in Utah for giving me some time with this Veloster. Check out the inventory link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.